Guys, welcome into the conversation. Today we are talking with Dr. Huma Qureshi, and she's really cool. I've already talked to her a little bit, guys. You guys are gonna love this call. But Dr. Qureshi, would you mind introducing yourself to everybody here and kind of telling a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. First of all, call me Homa.
Sure.
Okay. But thank you, first of all, also, second of all, for having me here. I am a little bit about me. I am a concierge psychiatrist and psychotherapist practicing in Southern California at South Coast Psychiatry. It's a private practice. I have about 20 years of experience in the mental health field. And before I went into private practice, I had about a decade's worth of experience in community mental health. And in addition to that, I am a board member of Jiva Mental Health, which is a nonprofit located in Southern California, and it's dedicated to providing accessibility, decreasing the stigma, increasing awareness of all things mental health related in the South Asian community. And they do that through a variety of means. The bulwark, I would say, is the free and subsidized therapy that we provide, which is culturally attuned, meaning that it's available to everybody, but they have South Asian therapists who can speak the language of the client, whether it be Urdu, Punjabi, Hindi, Telugu, etc. So that's, I would say, in terms of mental health, kind of who I am.
Okay. Before we even get to what we want to talk about, okay, I have to unpack that. Can I
Okay.
ask a couple questions?
Yeah, of course, please.
What is a concierge psychiatrist or therapist?
So a concierge psychiatrist slash and psychotherapist. So first of all, I would say a psychiatrist who practices psychotherapy, something that all of us are trained in, but many of us do not do due to a variety of issues. And I would say most of it is that it's like insurance.
Mm,
Um, so I'm kind of, I would say a psychiatrist that does psychotherapy is rare.
mm,
But concierge style means that we accept a limited amount of patients so that we can provide highly individualized and targeted care. So we don't accept insurance. We provide what we call a super bill that you can turn into your insurance.
mm,
And then, and we keep our patient base purposely small so that we can see you several times a week. We take a it's very like highly individualized, highly specialized care, very holistic. It's not the 15-minute
mm-hmm.
medication check and then you're gone.
Yeah.
You know, we do medication management, but we do psychotherapy, we do lifestyle modification. We'll hold family sessions. We examine every aspect of your life as needed. So I would say it's at a higher price point because of that, but it really allows me, personally speaking, to practice the way I want, which is
Mm-hmm.
I can set the time, how long I think I need to see you for, and the frequency, and just really dig in deep, which, you know, in other more traditional practices, you really can't do that. You're limited
Yeah.
by so many other factors.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind when you were saying that was doctors just having like a having to see 40 patients in a day. So they just go in and go out, go in and go out, go in and go out. And the most common complaint you hear from a lot of people now are like, I just, you know, they just see me, I say a little bit,
Yeah,
they write me a prescription and then I leave.
yeah,
But like, I don't really know what's wrong. They didn't really explain it that well, or I don't really understand it. And I'm in and out kind of thing.
yeah,
But then to your point, like having to still like the longer time that you as a professional want to spend with your patient to really help them requires more also money so you can keep running your practice, you can keep running seeing other patients and keep this thing going. So it's like it's tough finding the middle gap there. um yeah, I can't think of any sort of like
yeah.
magic wand solution to
It's
like
you know, it's
it because it's like
yeah,
physical training, or it's like having a nutritionist or having any sort of specialist. Like you're more or less a specialist versus like a generalist. And so I feel like the same way you pay a physical trainer $300 a month, $500 a month, $1,000 a month to like see you at the gym twice, 3 times a week, if not every day, and work with you as kind of like what I imagine what you're doing. Is that fair?
It's, yeah, I would say that. But I would say for like, you'd be surprised at how many of my patients are actually not, rather due to insurance or whatnot, or because, when I used to teach residents and medical students, I would say, if someone comes to you for treatment and you like front load them, don't do the 15-minute or the 10-minute medication check. And I mean, some patients are fine to do that. I don't want to criticize, someone else's model of treatment. But if you give them a little bit more extra time in the beginning, you
Mm-hmm.
might find that the longer course of treatment becomes
Mm-hmm.
actually shorter. If
Mm,
you just kind
I
of
see.
take the time to do the work in the beginning and front load it, it'll save you time in the future. But to your point, in terms of kind of like, I did community mental health for 10 years, um, which, and the reason I did community mental health was because it was the only, other than private practice, which I wasn't really ready to pivot to. I mean, private practice that doesn't accept insurance, but I
Mm,
wasn't really ready to let go of being able to sit with my patients, because most private practice that takes insurance, they are doing like the 10 to 15-minute med checks. In community
mm,
mental health, at least in California, you're guaranteed 30 minutes with your patient for a medication checkup, and when you first meet them, 90 minutes. And that was the way I was trained. Whereas a lot of modern psychiatrists, when they're practicing, they're doing a 60-minute assessment and then a 15-minute med check. And for me, that was just, it wasn't, it wouldn't work for someone like me who really likes to sit and talk and get to know the patient. And I'm not going to say that you can't do that in a shorter session.
mm,
You can. It just wasn't for me. So,
mm,
so I did my community mental health. The thing with the community mental health is that they give you a half an hour for the medication check, but the patient, the trauma and the socioeconomic stressors that they're coming with, they honestly need at least 45 minutes. That's my opinion.
yeah.
But, and so after some time, after doing that for about a decade, I made the pivot into private practice. But there
Mm,
are and I think people aren't aware of this, like in terms of like kind of like that, maybe that middle class of people that's not getting the mental health therapy and treatment that they need. Like at Jiva, people think it's people who can't afford therapy, and that's not necessarily
mm,
the case. It's we have a lot of college students whose parents won't pay for therapy because of the stigma. Um,
or they don't want to tell them about it.
or they don't want to tell them about it. I
Mm-hmm.
think people think we have a lot of, okay, they can't afford it, but like actors and actresses, like in
Yeah.
LA, who are utilizing Jiva service. And Jiva is not the only nonprofit that provides services like that. It's just the one that I
Mm-hmm.
happen to, whose cause I happen to
Yeah.
champion. And
Yeah.
so it takes a little bit of creativity, which is hard when you're going through a mental health crisis or anything, to find that. But those services are out there. There's not enough. We need to do better, we need to do more, but they are out there. And I'm hoping that, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know through podcast appearances like this, the work that you're doing, um, stuff like that will become more readily available, and people will, actually start even having the conversation. That would be the first step.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine. I think the hardest conversation is to have it with the older generation that you need to have the conversation with, but that's hard to do in most situations because I feel like I've had the conversation just with all of my colleagues, all of my peers, all of
Yeah,
my friends, um, but never really had the conversation with my parents.
yeah, that's that's
Um,
that's sad.
like in a way, right? Like, I'm pretty sure just through by listening to this, they know. Like, I don't really talk to them about it because I'm like, I'll let you handle it the way you want to handle it,
Yeah,
in a sense, right? Because I think the hard part for a lot of people, and I'll keep this brief so we can go into what we want to talk about really on this podcast. But I think the hardest thing for a lot of people is, how do I tell you, you being my parental figure, that I'm going to therapy not because of you, but due to experiences that I've grown up with and grown through, and from childhood to middle to young adult, whatever it is that have currently shaped me, I'm going to it to maybe talk about those things and understand those things and unpack those things. Not your fault.
Yeah.
So don't think I'm going because of you, but these things just happened in that time, and that's what I'm going for. And not a reflection on your parenting.
Yeah.
Not a reflection,
That's
not a reflection on you as a person.
yeah. That's a big one that I deal with in, both South Asian and non-South Asian families. Like any child that comes, or young adult that comes to see me, the parent, if I ask to talk to the parent, they automatically assume I'm going to start blaming them, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
That discussion to have with a parent, it's so tough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and most people just don't have it. They just kind of do the therapy and they try to work on
Yeah.
their goals. Um, you know, uh, but I mean, I'm a very big believer, Arish, in like individualized and nuanced care. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard for me to make like sweeping statements like this is the way we
Sure.
should approach your parents. Well, I don't know your parents, right? Like, are your parents, would they be more open-minded? Would they not be? Is it more about, if I were to counsel somebody, like, how are you going to talk to your parents? We might work more on, less on like what are you going to say to them, and more on managing your expectations. Like, if you are going to
Mm-hmm.
them and you're expecting this and this, and you don't get that, then what's gonna, how are you going to handle that? Or it
Mm-hmm.
might be more work on, I think I can get my parents to understand, but I really need to deliver it in a certain way. Then that
Yeah.
might be the work, right? So
Yeah.
it's so, even within the South Asian community, we have a lot of variance. But yeah, generally speaking, the older generation isn't as receptive, though we are finding that is slowly changing.
Yeah. No, that is true. We are definitely finding that
Yeah.
slowly changing. Slow is the key word there.
Yeah,
Um,
slow is the key
but
word there.
speaking of things changing,
Yes.
this is not the segue that I thought it was going to be, but I wanted to talk to you about the five pillars of mental and physical health.
Yes.
So, for people listening at home, this is a series that Huma and Jiva and a couple of other pages on Instagram collaboratively are putting out. It's the way the way that I discovered it was through this piece of content. But every week since June 3rd, they've been posting about the five pillars of mental and physical health. And so I would love for you to walk me through those five pillars. High level, let's talk about the five pillars, and then we can go into
Yeah.
all the different trees and roots.
Okay, so a little correction. It's because
Okay.
I know I have my like hands and everything, right? So
Yes.
um, it's the five pillars of mental and physical well being. The series actually, it belongs to South Coast Psychiatry, which is the name of
Got it.
the practice that I work at, and that and you might have seen it on my own personal Instagram page, which
Right.
I cross post. But yeah,
Sure.
I do a lot of the work for the SCP Instagram, South Coast Psychiatry Instagram page. So yeah, I wanted to start off with like the five pillars of mental and physical well being, of mental health and whatnot, by saying that this isn't, when we determined what the five pillars were, this wasn't based on a study that they did, and
Mm-hmm.
we were like taking this from scientific data. This is something that
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Airy, who owns the practice, and I, it's based on our years of clinical experience, and it's all backed by data. Now,
Mm.
are these the only pillars of mental and physical well-being? No, of course not. But throughout our careers, and the science backs this up, you can't ignore these five issues. And
Yeah.
so, we wanted to bring a series to a larger audience, being really mindful of not advocating treatment
Mm-hmm.
without, keeping it more generalized, right? So that's kind of the five pillars of mental and physical well-being. And the second point I want to make is th- these five pillars are things that I would say the general person can apply to, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that I sometimes I feel when mental health was represented in social media, like people, like they're looking for the quick bullet points, right? They want the 10 ways to cure my depression through diet, right? Somebody who has depression,
Banger hook though. I'm not gonna lie to you.
it, it,
That
it,
is a really good hook
it's
though.
an excellent hook. It's going to get you the views. It's going to get you the audience. Is it, in my professional and personal opinion, completely ethical? No, it's not. Because
Yeah.
I'm going to say, like, if someone comes to me and they're like, we saw your five pillars, of like health. And I have severe social anxiety, like DSM-5 level social anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So can we start working on connection? Well, no, where I'm not going to start, which is one of the pillars, guys. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not going to start, right off the bat, like, okay, you need to go and chat it up with your barista. No, right? Like, so when you're talking about these five pillars, these are basics that eventually, if you have a mental health condition, will get addressed. Some of them get addressed right off, like top off, like right off the bat, just because they're that important. But if you're coming to me in my practice, I might not start hitting you hard with nutrition. Like if you're so severely depressed that you can't get out of bed, that you are contemplating no longer living. And I start talking about the five pillars, and I'm like, you know what, like you need to start going for a mile walk. You need to hit 7,000 steps. That's no, right? So just that's kind of like one caveat I wanted to throw out there, that
Mm-hmm.
let's make sure that who our audience is. But in general, the five pillars of mental and physical well-being, I would say, are sleep. Now I should pull up my notes. Sleep, movement, connection, nutrition, and purpose.
Okay.
That's right, yeah.
Yes, yes. No, sorry. You were saying that, and I have it here too, just because
Yeah, I was like, oh, should I
I
pull up
was
my notes?
also
Yeah.
reading and everything too, just 'cause,
Yeah.
just so I don't get it wrong. Okay, so sleep, movement, connection, nutrition, and purpose or meaning.
Yeah.
And so I agree with the movement. I see the nutrition. I see the connection, but I want to ask, how is sleep a? Okay. I want to put my 2 cents into this and then tell me if I'm correct.
Okay.
Because I look at sleep and I think, okay, why is it a pillar? But then I think, okay, well, it won't go into movement because you're not moving. It won't go into nutrition because you're not eating. It won't go into connection because you're solo. And it won't go into purpose and meaning because you're unconscious. So like I feel like it does make sense that sleep is its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we never really think about sleep being its own thing. We always see sleep as the recovery method for when you're for the movement pillar, but not as like its own thing.
It's yeah.
So can we start with sleep then? Of like, what is it about sleep?
So sleep is, when how I did that whole spiel in the beginning about, well, you can't apply, someone comes to me with depression, I'm not going to talk to them about movement quite right away.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep is something that I do actually. It's one of the first things I will screen for. It is something that I will start targeting, usually from even the first session,
Mm-hmm.
because sleep is that important to people with a mental health condition or without a mental health condition. Sleep is, it's sleep is an essential function that the it covers so many different areas of life, for which it is necessary, from emotional regulation to memory consolidation to executive functioning, that when sleep is disrupted, especially on a prolonged basis,
Mm-hmm.
you will have you will see it manifesting itself sooner or later. And it will depend upon what phase of life you're in. I think when you're younger, you're a little bit more, at least superficially, resilient to lack of sleep or poor sleep as compared to maybe when you're older. But it will catch up to you. We call that the sleep debt, the
Mm-hmm.
amount of sleep you need, and the difference between the amount of sleep you need and the amount of sleep you've lost. But, you can pick any of those categories, whether it's emotional regulation, memory consolidation, um, executive functioning, immune functioning, like having your immune system be robust. If sleep is disrupted, this is all going to be impacted. So if I have a patient who comes to me and is, they're saying they're having high levels of anxiety and they haven't slept well for the last month, while I will consider treating their sleep hand in hand with treating their anxiety. Like I can't
Mm-hmm.
fix their anxiety unless I manage their sleep too. And that is almost
Mm-hmm.
universal for any condition. And then sleep, it, the rest of the five pillars, it trickles down, right? Like if you're talking about nutrition and having, like a healthy diet being paramount for a healthy mental and physical state. Well, if you're sleep deprived, those hunger hormones, they're all out of whack, right? You will crave more, your appetite regulating hormones, they're all out of whack. You're going to eat more when you're sleep deprived. Um, if you're talking about like movement, well, if you're not well rested and you go without rest for 2 or 3 days, how are you going to go and get those 7,000 steps in? You can't, right? And then if you're talking about like just performance academically or at the job, your concentration will be impaired. Social relationships, connection. I mean, they show that in a sleep deprived state, your amygdala is overactive, and the amygdala is a part of the brain that helps with emotional regulation. So you will be much more easily irritated, regulating your emotions, your anger, everything will become much harder. So the first thing I do is actually that's the one pillar I would say that gets incorporated into the treatment plan from the get-go.
Mm,
Sorry, I hit
why
you with
is
a
it
lot.
that no 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 yeah no I'm trying to think of what how I want to ask this. So for people who ha actually skip all that, where do naps come into play?
Yep. So, I
How
mean,
does
yeah.
how does like how does napping like either affect your sleep cycle, your sleep debt? Like where does it come into play in this, and can it be beneficial versus like just extra something extra whatever it is?
I think it depends on the person and what they're struggling with, right? If you and what time of day you are taking your nap and how long you're taking your nap. So let's say if it's somebody like a hypothetical, someone who has a hard time falling asleep, and so they wake up, but they're getting up at the same time every morning. They're not sleeping in to kind of compensate
Mm,
for not falling asleep on time. If they take an hour nap at 5 p.m. and their bedtime is 10, they're not going to fall asleep. Their body is going to register that as no, I got sufficient sleep throughout the day. I am not tired. So in that case, you're setting yourself up for failure, right? And
hmm
so then I would advise that person, you need to stop napping altogether, struggle for a few days, a week or two, or even longer, depending upon other variables. But then a nap would not be recommended. However, if you need what we call that 20-minute power nap earlier
hmm
in the day, and you'll notice this especially in older adults whose deep sleep kind of it's a phase of sleep where
yeah.
a lot of the memory and whatnot kind of happens, consolidation happens, uh, that decreases, and that sense of rest, that's what the deep sleep is really
hmm
good for too. You'll find a lot of older adults, the elderly, taking naps during the day, and I'm like, you know what, that's okay. If you don't have to get up and be somewhere in the morning, or you don't have to be at work, go ahead, take a nap during the day, right? Like,
yeah.
you also want to, there's the perfect theory of what we do, and then there's the practical applicability to a person's life. So naps are, sometimes they're okay and sometimes they're not.
So okay, if we sleep all night, we don't want to nap in the day. For people who maybe are have a more routine day,
Yeah.
wake up, get ready, go to work, uh, get drained at work, come home, hate the commute, sit on the couch for a little bit, eat dinner, go back to bed, right? Um, for those people, I feel like there's times when I'll hear, all I need is like 6 hours and I'm good. Versus some people might be like, I'm great on 4. And then other people are like, dude, I need my 8 or 9, right? So
Yeah.
there's always this like this assumption that because I'm feeling fine currently, what I'm doing right now is fine, right?
Yeah.
So if I feel good on 4 hours and I feel electric, I'm gonna keep doing hitting 4 hours. Um, how does that overtime compound? And I guess the extra layer here is I can just use myself as an example. I operate best between 6 and 7.5, but I know if I get closer to the 6 and I wake up, I might be like this morning. I got good sleep. I woke up. I immediately when I got out of bed and I was brushing my teeth, my head started hurting a little bit. I could feel like I was still a bit like hazy or whatever,
Yeah.
but it allowed me to like whenever I feel like groggy getting up in a way and like that, I'm like, okay, cool, it's gonna be a great day. I'm gonna be so awake. But when I get like my 8 hours, or if I wake up and I'm like, I don't feel great, back down for 2, and I wake up and I feel like I just feel so bleh,
Yeah, yeah.
bogged down, so lethargic, even though I got more sleep.
Well,
How does that work?
it's a quantity versus quality thing, right? So if you got
Sure.
6 solid hours of good quality sleep versus 8 crappy hours of poor quality sleep, you're going to feel better on the six. We want to hit at least seven, but I would say pay if you hit six good quality versus 8 crappy, then the six good
Mm-hmm.
quality is better. Now, 4 quality hours versus 9 crappy hours, that's on a long-term basis, like 4 hours every night, I think you'll eventually crash.
Yeah.
I don't think that's there's very few people who are, I will get people who are kind of like, no, I'm good on 5 hours a night. I'm like, no, you're not good on 5 hours a night. There's Your
Mm-hmm.
sleep deprivation is impacting you in ways that you might not even realize. But if you are short with people, if you find yourself getting sick more easily, your concentration is lacking, and this is what's happening, or your anxiety is chronically elevated, I will emphasize sleep in that case too.
Mm-hmm.
I it's There's a very minute amount of people who need less than who can do well and flourish on less than seven, and also on the other extreme who need more than nine. There are a few people who need
Mm-hmm.
more than 9 hours of sleep too, but I would
Mm-hmm.
say the average the average Joe is between 7 to 9.
Interesting.
And then if you're
Okay.
not getting good quality sleep after 8 hours, like then that warrants um, a doctor's visit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. We all love
Especially
those.
if it's consistent. If it's consistent, like the one,
Right.
you can get into this kind of like, oh my gosh, like a sleep paranoia that, oh, I didn't sleep well, or I slept 10 hours and I still feel groggy. Well, okay, if that's like once in a while, you're okay. If it's
Yeah, yeah.
consistent, then yeah, we need to take a deeper look at that.
So then how does that lead into movement?
Uh, I mean, it's the second pillar, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about movement?
Yes, yeah. Let's wake up and let's talk about movement.
Okay. So one thing I'll say, like in terms of mental well-being, right? Hold on. Movement is so be care. Remember to take into considerations, because there's so many recommendations for movement, in all these different areas of health. Like there's movement parameters for cardiovascular health, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
movement parameters for anti-dementia, and then there's movement parameters for mental health. I'm going to talk more from like a mental health perspective, not like the amount of cardio or the amount of weight training that you need for anti-dementia or cardiovascular protection, right? Like everything has got its own kind of requirements. But um, uh, there's but movement is it is directly tied to what we would call like our happy neurotransmitters.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you don't need massive amounts of this to produce this. Um, like a 20-minute walk, especially if you could do it outdoors, is great. Studies have shown where in cases of mild to moderate depression, not severe, mild to moderate, exercise can be just as effective for improving mood as psychiatric medications can be. But
Mm-hmm.
people forget we're talking mild to moderate cases of
Yeah.
depression, right? Um, Movement, and like mental health kind of goes hand in hand with, I would say, cognition, like, neurological well being too. Um, Movement, cardio, weight training, yoga, Pilates, all of this, like they can help your cognition, they can help your memory consolidation, they can help your executive functioning, concentration, attention. When you're doing well in those areas, you're going to have a secondary effect of an improvement in your mood. Movement can help reduce anxiety. And there's like all these studies that show this, and it's in the slides too. If you want to ask me something more specifically, we can talk about that. But uh, I would say for mental health, the ask for movement is not as intense as people think it is. You don't need to
Mm-hmm.
be in the gym for hours and hours at a time. If anything, they there was a study that came out that showed that more than 3 hours, you can actually start going backwards in terms of mood and mental well-being. Like you're overly
Mm,
exhausting yourself. You're leading to a chronically stressed out state, which isn't good for you. So, I mean, I would say most of us are not in the gym for 3 hours a day.
yeah.
Um, but like a 20-minute walk a day, that will do
Hmm.
wonders for your sense of well-being.
When just recently, it was on Thursday. I have Taekwondo twice a week, 7:15, 8:15, banger. Thursday, didn't want to go
Yeah,
at all.
yeah,
Still went, and I was at the start of it. I was like, I just don't really want to be here. But as soon as everybody's on the mat and my instructor says do 100 jumping jacks, turn every 25, you just in the cycle of doing it. I'm not even thinking about my mood at that point. And then everybody's talking, everybody's joking, we're all training, and it turned into I don't want to be here right now. By the end of it, I felt that was awesome.
yeah,
And what's even more, I think, fun and cool is when I get home, it's like 8:30 or whatever, and usually I would be like, okay, cool, shower, get ready for bed or whatever it is. But I showered, I did some errands, I cooked dinner, I did all these extra things that I was like, I didn't have the energy or the mood or the desire to do any of this stuff beforehand when I could have in the morning, I could have in between work because I work from home, I could have done it after work before I go to class, but didn't want to do it any part of the day.
yeah,
And then once I go work out and go train, and then I come back, I'm like, I can do anything.
yeah.
I want to stay active. I want to remain in this state. And it's just like the only way I can get in that state is through working out, I feel like, or being active.
Being active.
Um,
Yeah,
I don't want to discount the next pillar, which is connection, because I feel like it makes a huge difference of being active, moving with people. I think compounds the effects of both, and
yeah,
it makes like a really really great wake up like thing. But just you know the thing you said about 20-minute walk, or um, just being outside. Um,
yeah.
I feel like that it's one of those things where I know I should do it, and I wake up in the morning
Yeah,
and I will stay in bed until I have to get up for work. But I know for a fact that like I really should just go outside right now. If I could just keep myself outdoors for 20 minutes, like somebody chain me to a tree and just
yeah.
keep me outdoors for 20 minutes, I will come back inside. Great. But how do we like get ourselves to do that if we're in one of those
One of those states.
mindsets,
Yeah,
mood
yeah, yeah.
states that like we just don't want to move? I don't feel like moving.
I mean, start small. Well, first of all, identify your barriers, right?
Hmm.
If you're talking about, um, like with some of my patients, one of the things I prescribe is, please don't look at any electronics. Like it's like a package deal, right? Like it's,
Yeah.
to help you with your sleep, I want you to go outside and I want you to go for a 20-minute walk outdoors. And I don't want you to look at your electronics for the first 20 minutes to an hour of the day. And I get so much pushback. Like, how can I not check my email, check my text messages, whatnot? And I'm like, you know what? Like, so I'll literally walk a patient through their morning. I'm like, you, you're making this harder than it has to be, because when you wake up, you look at your phone for a second to look at the time. But most of us have to get up and go to the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
So just leave your phone, put it far away from you, go to the bathroom, go downstairs, make yourself a cup of coffee or whatever caffeinated or decaffeinated beverage of your choice, and
Hmm.
just time that in of itself. And you probably have already gone 10 minutes without touching an electronic,
Yeah.
right? Take your coffee, what do you do? And if like they're like, well, I'll take my coffee and I'll sit down, at my dining table, I'll ask them like, well, what do you, in terms of like being outdoors, what do you have available to you? I have my backyard. Okay, how hard is it going to be to just go step outside with your coffee? And if you can't do 10 minutes of stepping outside, do you think you can give me a minute? Yeah, I can give you a minute. All right, give me a minute, right? And then if it's like we're going to incorporate like walking. Like you said, the hardest thing about it, it's a universal truth. The hardest thing about working out is actually just getting started, right? Like once you
Yeah.
get yourself to the gym, you start feeling good after a while. Like, well, identify your barriers. Well, it takes me forever to find my gym clothes. Um,
Yeah.
I don't have my protein drink ready. Well, okay, do you think you can give me 5 minutes the night before to do that? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you don't have to hit like a 20-minute walk. Can you do 5 minutes? You can't do 5 minutes. All right. Can you give me 2 minutes? All right. Yeah, maybe I can give you 2 minutes. We will start there. So it's, again, it's a highly individualized approach with the person. Um, but I would say the first thing is identify barriers. And one of the barriers could be lack of motivation. And that might be a different type of work, a little bit more intense work required to address that. But identify barriers, keep reasonable goals, and
Mm-hmm.
a small goal is not an unworthy goal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget that in our capitalistic, goal driven
Yeah.
purpose, like we need to be hitting all of our milestones. A small goal is it's a goal.
Yeah.
And and, and keep expectations realistic. You might go for the 15-minute walk on Monday, and on Tuesday you don't feel like doing it. On Wednesday you don't feel like doing it. On Thursday, don't throw everything out the window and be like, well, I'll just start again on next Monday. Well, no,
Next
it's
Monday.
okay.
Yeah.
It's the effect is cumulative. It's all right. You didn't go Monday. You didn't go Tuesday, Wednesday. Go Thursday. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So much to talk about. So
Yeah.
much to talk about. Okay. Can I be so real with you?
Yeah, of course.
When one of the things in when I first started therapy was I was telling my therapist like I just can't get out of bed. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I became one of those people who like my wife would wake up, I would kind of like open my eyes, but she would like get ready and go to work,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would just stay in bed. And I'm like, I don't have to do anything until like 10, so I'm chilling, and so I would just scroll on my phone the entire time. And so she was like, can you put your phone in a different room? Or can you just like put your phone somewhere else? And I was like, I could, but the first thing I do when I get up in the morning is post, so I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the day. She's like, why do you have to do that first thing in the morning? Well, because then I like think about it. It's not something I like to do, so I want to just get out of the way. But can you do that a little bit later? Or things like same questions that you would ask your patient. She would pose those same questions to me, and the same way they might push back, I pushed back.
Yeah.
And so there were nights when I was like, okay, you just got to do something. So I'd grab my phone and I would just chuck it at just somewhere in the room, just as like an act of defiance
Mm-hmm.
against this thing that's I feel like it's like shackling me. And so those mornings felt okay, and then I would find myself just like some mornings after a night of throwing my phone into the pile of laundry, I would just like drag myself to the laundry. I'd pick my phone up. I'd go back to the bed, and I'd get right back into bed, and I'm like, oh, you defeated yourself. So then, okay, put in a different room. I do that, but I really can't do that. So I then did the third thing, which is what the other thing that you talked about, which was um, don't make it too complicated. So I was talking to I actually did a podcast with my Taekwondo instructor, 22-year-old dude, and he's weirdly interesting brain for a 22-year-old. And he was talking about like his daily to-do list and how we over engineer it. And I looked at my daily to-do list, and I'll tell you right now, on my reminders, day to day, there are 11 things
Yeah.
on my to-do list. And I'm like, why do I have 11 things on my to-do list? No wonder I don't do any of them.
Yeah.
So recently, what's been working for the past 2 weeks has been get up, get out of bed, make bed, brush teeth.
Yeah.
That is all you have to worry about. And just think about those two things to do. I do it every day.
Yeah.
I don't worry about okay now do this and then now do that and then now do that. Right? It's just those two things. Get them done, and then just by then I'm out of bed. I don't get back into bed. If I do, I sit on the top of the bed.
Yeah.
That means I'm not cozy, and I just keep cracking on. And I feel like that works so well.
Yeah.
It works so well.
Reduce the barriers. Keep it, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
It really is that good. And I have tried like a couple of phone like making your phone dumb type apps and stuff, but I'm like I guess I'm one of those people who just like it doesn't matter. I would still go unbrick it and then keep using it or whatever, right? Like it's not that's not going to stop me unless it's physically not here. Nothing's going to stop me. So I
Yeah.
had to kind of like
You have to work
go a
with
little bit deeper.
yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that then I want to take us into the connection pillar
Hmm.
and how why what does that pillar contain?
Well, so connection is, I mean, it's interacting with beings, and I say beings because it doesn't necessarily have to be human. Um, your pets count. You know, it's interacting with someone other than yourself, and forging a
Mm-hmm.
connection, forging something meaningful. And it does not need to be, I think with connection, because it sounds on the surface very self-explanatory, like humans are social creatures, um, you know, evolutionary wise, if we didn't form tribes, we would get eaten by carnivores and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I, I think, kind of as we were saying a little bit earlier, you don't have to overcomplicate connection either. And
Mm-hmm.
connection can come in a variety of ways. And it's almost like having like a picnic basket of different types of connection, right? Like small connections can do a lot, right? Earlier on, I was talking about, not telling my patient to go say hi to your barista. But if you do go to a coffee shop and there is a barista there that's always present, and you say good morning and you say, hey, how you doing? They answer and it's a pleasant interaction. That in of itself was a small connection, right?
I love those.
Yeah, yeah. And
They feel so
yeah,
nice.
exactly, right? So connections vary in intensity, in quality, and in quantity, and that's okay. It's good to have a variety of different types of connections. There's the connections we might make at work. I would never actually talk to this my work colleague outside of work, but we have a shared interest, purpose here in this specific environment, and that
Mm-hmm.
relationship is meaningful and it's nourishing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas my best friend of 20 years, they provide a different role for me,
Mm-hmm.
versus my partner, versus my child, versus my trainer, versus the DoorDash guy that I always get the same one, right?
Yeah.
It's versus my cat, right? I think building in a variety of connections slowly and surely and at one's comfort level
Mm-hmm.
can have so much benefit in terms of mental health. And are like, and this has been shown, through studies. And I refer people to the slides on social media, that through on South they're on South Coast Psychiatry's page and my own personal page, if you want the citations and whatnot. One of the major uh, anti-dementia actions that we can take is maintaining our social connections.
Mm-hmm.
There is a almost direct correlation with, the decrease in social interactions and friendships and partnerships and whatnot, with the rate of dementia and how it can worsen. And so, it's also connection is one of the things when I do a lot of post retirement or prep for retirement work with my patients. We talk a lot about implementing structure and,
Yeah.
implementing a certain level of socialization. And the thing is, like, again, people think socialization, connection, do I need to become like this extroverted party animal? Not at all. Different people
Mm-hmm.
have different needs, different types of connection. In fact, I would say introverts, they underestimate how much they need, and extroverts overestimate how much they need. And there's no fixed quantity. I think that's kind of the hard thing for people to
Mm-hmm.
understand. We like fixed categories. Like, tell
Mm-hmm.
me, how many interactions am I supposed to have? And, how many close friends am I supposed to have? It varies to, it's
Yeah.
specific to you. But
No,
it is very,
that's
very important, and especially as you get older.
so there's a book on that shelf right there I'm pointing to. It's called Fourth Wing. It's somewhere there. I'm
Fourth
really
Wing,
bad at it's called Fourth Wing, right?
the dragon
Um
book.
the dragon book, the romance smutty dragon book.
Yes,
So
yes.
I've read it 3 times.
Really?
I've read it 3 times, and the reason why I'm bringing it up is so I was at Taekwondo
Hmm.
early, and the class before us is a kids class. So a lot of the times the parents would just be sitting in the waiting area while the kids are like doing their thing. So there was a mom there who was reading Fourth Wing.
Of course.
So
Of course.
you know, I don't know what compelled me to interact with her, except for the fact that she's reading Fourth Wing. So I was like, "Oh my god, you're reading Fourth Wing. How are you liking it?" She's like, I'm enjoying it. It's really cool." I was like, "I know, right? I've read it like 3 times. It's really cool." And then she said something, and then we just turned away or whatever, and then I let her read. Now there are times when I think about that interaction, I'm like, "That's just a nice, small, simple interaction with
Yeah.
somebody who I don't know," but it was cool. And then there's times when I'm like, "Did this middle-aged mom really need me, a younger person, to be like, I read also that smutty book 3 times, and so maybe the parts that you're enjoying, I know what you're talking," and it's like a deeper layer to like I know why it's cool, it's really good, right? It's not just really like just you know trashy and
Yeah.
it's weird. I cringe sometimes when I think about it, and then sometimes I'm like, no, that was a good interaction, but I feel like those interactions for me recently have been those points of connection
Yeah. Yeah.
of like just can you randomly do something that it just comes to you like, hey, I just want to do this, I'm going to do this right now, versus planned. Like I'm not going to go to class and be like, I'm going to strike up a conversation with that one parent that I haven't yet for no
No.
reason.
No. Yeah.
But like, the once again the other day, like, and maybe it's me and my love for books and how easily I don't mind what people older than me or other people would deem as making a fool of yourself. But we were in class one time, and one of my classmates, like, family was sitting there, and she was reading Percy Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just doing my drills, and I was like, oh my god, do I see Percy Jackson over there? Great choice. And then I just keep doing my things, right? And I feel like those things are underestimated, underrated, like points of connection where it's like, how can I be like myself and connect with somebody else in like the smallest little way versus just thinking like, oh, I want to say something about that, but then I won't because I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want it to be
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
embarrassing. I don't want it to like come off whatever it is. And I feel like so much over the past few years has been, I want to do this. I want to say this. I want to say hi to this person. Or things like that, and we just don't.
No.
Like, what happened to random compliments walking by somebody on the street or whatever it is?
You do that. Give somebody a random compliment, and as long as you do it in a non-creeper kind of way,
Right.
um, right? Watch their face.
So many people are like, "Oh my god, that just made my day."
Yeah, watch their face literally light up. And the only thing, like I will say with that, Irish, is be authentic. Don't give
Mm-hmm.
somebody a false compliment.
Yeah.
I think that's where people trip up. I mean, I'm not sure who's going around like lying. Well, maybe there are. But
Yeah.
authenticity goes.
Mm-hmm.
It's an overused word, but it's overused for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
If people can sense that you are BSing them, they're gonna react. You know, don't.
Yeah.
But these small interactions, they can carry so much weight, especially when you summate them together.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, compliment somebody, or and bibliophiles, anyone who's a reader, and someone's like, "Oh my god, I read that book." Come on, the excitement that you
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
"You
Yeah.
read this book." Book nerds are book nerds everywhere, right? So, um
One of my classmates pulled out 2 big chunky books out of their backpack after class one time, and and I looked at them and I was like, "You've read those books?" It was Will of the Many and Strength of the Few by James Islington, and we just talked for 10 minutes on it.
yeah.
Had no reason to, but we talked for ten
But
minutes on
no,
it.
because that's, I mean, book readers, they're, I mean, we are a different type
Yes,
of species, like
we are. We
brings.
we are an interestingly like solo yet social
Yeah,
like
oh yeah, exactly.
a type of person where we
Hmm.
want to do the thing solo, but then we really want to connect with other people about the thing that we're doing solo. Versus a lot of times these are like shared experiences.
Yes.
I'm not going to sit in the same room with somebody and just read the same book or something like that yet. But I will read it on my own time and then want to talk to people about it.
Yeah, then you want to like talk someone's head off about it, especially if it's a book you
Yeah,
love, right? Yeah, a hundred
exactly.
percent. So no, and one thing I tell my patients when it comes to, it's a little bit of an anxiety component too, is put yourself in that person's shoes, right? Like think about because it's self-consciousness that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, oh my, when you're sitting there ruminating afterwards, that should have I said anything to that mom about reading Fourth Wing? She probably, it's, if someone had come up to you and been like, "Hey, oh, you're reading Fourth Ring, that's so cool," you would have been like, and let's say you didn't want to talk to the person at that moment, right? And so you give like a brief, "Yeah, I am, yeah," and like that person goes off. That person might feel
Yeah.
mortified. How much are you going to actually think about that person ever again in a negative capacity? That,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they bothered me for like that 10 seconds asking me about my book. No.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you
Yeah.
see someone trip in public, right?
Yeah.
Which we've all seen someone trip in public, depending upon your nature, you might sympathize, you might laugh.
You might
But
point and laugh like, look at that guy right there.
yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
right
do
there.
that, but I know people who would, right? But
Yeah.
I might be married to someone who would.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, uh, but an hour later, I mean, unless there's something, a little seriously, like we would have to examine that in a little bit more depth. Are you sitting there thinking about that person who tripped in
Yeah.
public? No. But the person who actually tripped in public is probably replaying that and thinking, oh my gosh,
10 years later.
10 years later. But
All the bad things in my life happened because I tripped in public that day.
right, yeah, and I was so publicly humiliated and all those people
Mm-hmm.
saw me. But if you ask the people who witnessed the event, everyone is the main character of their own story. They saw
Mm-hmm.
it, they either empathized and helped pick you up, or they laughed at you, or they walked right
Yeah.
past you. But they went about, like, they thought about you and then they forgot. And you're
Mm-hmm.
sitting there, like, ruminating over it. So that's kind of the same thing with like these smaller social interactions that might create some anxiety. What's the worst that could come of it afterwards? Is the person going to sit there and think about you, that you complimented them and they thought you were weird, or you commented on their book? No, they're not. They're going to go about their life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
you know, no harm, no foul in that sense. And it's a way to provide perspective, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Another thing that is a very social activity is eating together. Let's talk about the nutrition pillar. Where can we go in there? What is that pillar about?
I mean, nutrition, I feel like it's it's one of those things that I think most people know. Like, the Mediterranean diet is probably is the healthiest diet.
Love that diet so much.
Yeah,
I feel so good when I have Mediterranean food. It just feels fresh and nice.
because it is fresh and nice. Yeah, you know, it's like a good blend of, like getting your omega 3s, and again, for like mental and physical well-being, I would say, key takeaways are: reduce your processed foods, increase
Mm-hmm.
your vegetables, increase your fruit. You
Mm-hmm.
do need a certain amount of protein. I will say that in
Mm-hmm.
today's society, and again, and it also depends on what period of life you're in. If you're a perimenopausal woman, your protein intake your protein requirements is higher.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would also say that in popular culture, we're very protein obsessed, right?
Yeah.
Or most of us are probably overshooting protein, undershooting with fiber. Fiber is
Mm.
very, very important. But in terms of nutrition, I would say, it's a balanced diet. It's a Mediterranean diet. There's what we call the mind diet, which has anti-dementia properties, and a lot of it is, you know, whole grains, whole foods, unprocessed foods. That's what you're really looking for. And you were talking about like food bringing people together. Like, all of the five pillars in some way can be interconnected. You know, you
Yeah.
can hit your nutrition and get a little bit of connection at the same time.
Yep.
You can hit your nutrition and get a little bit of purpose at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Nutrition and sleep, like, it is easier to make healthier choices in terms of diet when you are well rested.
So true.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That cannot be understated.
No, no,
Because
it's yeah, like
yeah.
it's
Anybody who says like I don't eat well and I want to eat better, I would almost tell them, don't worry about what you're eating, in a sense.
yeah.
Like, sleep, be active, and your body will force you to make the right choice.
Yeah.
Because the amount of times I come back from a workout and I'm not going for the smart food white cheddar popcorn,
hmm
even though it's great in moderation. Obviously, I don't do moderation, but in moderation, it's great. but I immediately go towards the fruit or
Hmm.
the actual like meal that I'm trying to eat,
Yeah.
or something that feels like it's going to replenish my body.
Yeah.
Um, and but then there's days when I don't work out, so it's easier to make that processed
Yeah.
food choice
Yeah.
because your body's you're not it's not in a state of like I need replenishment. It's at that point it's in a state of like I need stimulation.
I need energy.
Yeah,
I need a
I need a processed carb
yeah.
in my gut that I'm going to overeat on
Right.
because I can't tell if I'm full or not.
Yeah, exactly. But because I'm also sleep deprived. So,
Hmm.
yeah. So I would say, like nutrition is the pillar that I think people complicate the most when it really doesn't need to be that complicated.
Yeah, and I feel like most people, in my opinion, are probably fine on nutrition. Like sure you could like quote unquote optimize, tweak some
Yeah.
things here and there, but I feel like a lot of people when I talk to them, like what you eat sounds fine, standard. Just yeah, focus on your sleep or move more,
Yeah.
and then and let nutrition be pulled by the activities that you do versus you trying to push it forward and
Yeah.
leaving everything else behind. Of like if I eat well, everything else will fall in line. I feel like it's the reverse.
Yeah. And I want to say something about like all of these five pillars, like something that maybe I should have also in the beginning have said, when you were talking about nutrition and because I also have a community mental health background, um, I can't underestimate the systemic issues that might be preventing people from getting a good night's sleep or good nutrition.
Mm,
There is an accessibility issue. If you are homeless or if you are worried about becoming homeless, you will not be sleeping well. If you
mm-hmm,
do not have the funds, in the United States of America, processed food is a lot cheaper than
mm-hmm,
you know whole foods at some time. And I know people always say, well, no, you can find the cheaper whole foods. You know what, if you're worried about your job, if you don't have an easy way to commute, like if you don't have a car, then the $3 $4 meal at McDonald's is going to be a lot easier
yeah,
than going to the grocery store and prepping food if you've got to work two jobs, right?
mm-hmm, yeah,
And I really should have actually started the conversation with that all of this is through a very specific, somewhat privileged lens.
mm-hmm,
And so, because I've worked with people whose diet was lacking, and I wasn't going to address that because there's so many other needs that need to be met first. And for me
mm-hmm,
to be like, well, you should be,
yeah,
they'll
yeah,
be
yeah,
like, Dr. Qureshi, I'm on the verge of homelessness for real.
yeah,
Like, girl, like, what are you talking
yeah,
about?
yeah.
Right.
No, fair.
So I really should have actually started with that too. I just wanted to,
Mm-hmm,
you know, for anybody listening out there, you know, have empathy for people when you're thinking about these five pillars.
mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. I feel like the thing that never was really told to me, but I had to realize was the reason why I'm not doing something is not because I can't do it. It's because a lot of the times my capacity to do it is filled up by other things that
Yeah.
I'm
Hmm.
doing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And whether that is voluntary or involuntary, we only have like a specific capacity to do something. And some people just have a higher capacity than others. Some people's priorities are different. So maybe their
Yes.
priority is nutrition and therefore they're able to give that, give their capacity to that. And then other things that they're not doing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And so the idea of like I had to really like take a step back and stop berating myself about why are you eating better? Why are you... I used to be like just a massive nutrition nut all throughout college, but I was also working out 5 times a week, and I was also like walking every day to class, and so it just became easier to do that, and my capacity wasn't as filled as it is now.
Yeah.
But now my mental capacity is filled with a lot of other things where it's like, all right, like nutritionist isn't at the top of the list, and that's fine as long as it's not, you know, eating out every day kind of thing, and not even like the healthier options, just like eating out
Yeah.
really bad junk every day, you're probably fine, and you can make like I every now and then I'll go like 3 4 months without really having any snacks in the house for myself, and
Yeah.
then a week or so I'll be like, hey, cool, I'm craving a bag of popcorn. I'll grab a bag of popcorn. I'll eat almost the entire thing in a day, which is not good. Guys, you should see those Smart Food white cheddar popcorn bags. They are this big, and I go through 3/4 of those. And then my wife comes home from work, looks at my desk, and sees the bag, and she looks at me, and I'm like, I have nothing to say. I have nothing to
You're
say.
like, it was really
Caught
good.
red,
It was worth
caught,
it.
caught red-handed. It was great.
Yeah.
I was licking my fingers as well.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, and then after that, I don't eat it again for the next 4 months. And so, like, if I can manage that, it's not really a problem in my mind,
No,
in a
exactly.
sense.
And to your point, that whatever aspect of life you're working on, it's going to be dependent on where you are in your life at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep is something that I will emphasize in all eras of life,
Yeah.
but nutrition might not be your primary goal if you are, like, I don't know, like in the middle of a surgical residency or something, or um, movement. If you're a postpartum mom, that might not be something that you
Mm-hmm.
even quite do. Might be something that might be
Yeah.
healthy for you, but maybe you don't have the capacity at that point. And then
Yeah.
I think then it's very important to, if you are working with someone, that they recognize that and work with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
Recognizing barriers and figuring how can we still make this feasible for you. Um,
Yeah.
so like the pillars also, other than sleep, will fluctuate
Mm-hmm.
throughout life too.
Yeah. And that brings us to the last pillar, which is meaning slash purpose. And that
It's one
is
of my
kind of
favorite.
my, that was my creation of this podcast, was to figure out what my purpose in life is, because I
Yeah.
still don't know. It's not doing taxes, but I want to know, like, I just want to talk to as many people as possible. Like, how did you figure out what you wanted to do? And the most succinct definition of purpose that I've heard is it's ever changing, and assume it's ever changing,
Hmm.
and you won't necessarily chase it. It'll just come to you.
I mean, you might need to think about it. I'm not. You might you might need to be intentional with it.
Yeah. As opposed, but I feel like, initially I would just like I was trying to look for it everywhere, as
Y-
opposed to kind of like taking a step back and saying like, okay, keep
yeah.
my eyes open, but keep living the life that I'm living, and it may come.
Yes.
Uh, as
But
opposed
then
to
you're
like,
you're living with a purpose to find your purpose.
it's weird. It's
A
weird.
purpose, again, it's one of those popular terms where people attribute this deep, deep meaning to purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And purpose can be, it's also multifaceted, and you
Yeah.
can have like a small purpose to your life and a bigger purpose to your life, and they
Mm-hmm.
both can bring a different type of gratification, which are both
Mm-hmm.
necessary. So, and purpose might look different in different eras of your life at different
Mm-hmm.
ages. So what I mean by that, and sometimes purpose is imposed upon you by society, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're looking at a school going child, a high school child, their purpose might be, it's kind of handed to them. You need to get good grades, right?
Yeah.
Because good grades equals good college, equals good job, equals blah, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
So they might not be sitting there thinking, like, what is my purpose? It was handed to them and they can just go about it. And, you know, I would say in my practice and in, my experience, what I see is, um, as you get older, purpose can become, you see people start tripping over it. Like you see that
Mm-hmm.
when ever there's a moment of change. Sometimes it occurs like at 18, 19, when that high school graduate who's been given all of this structure now has to make a decision on a major and then changes it 2 to 3 times and is
Yeah.
trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do with the rest of my life? But then you might have somebody, the college graduate, who always knew what he wanted to do or she wanted to do with their lives, and there's no job in that field.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do now? Right? Or you have the middle aged adult who has been plugging away at a job and is like, wait, this isn't that fulfilling. I don't feel
Mm-hmm.
happy. What was my purpose? And then where I think it really becomes, when I said the word intentional, I was thinking about the prep work that I do with my patients for retirement, because so many of them, they're kind of like, we glamorize retirement, like, oh my gosh, I've been working 9 to 5 or even more than that for the majority of my life. I cannot wait until I can sleep in and I'm not on a schedule. I don't have to clock in.
Mm-hmm.
That's good for so long. And then after a while, like, it can become very depressing, So I work with a lot of patients when it comes to retirement planning, like almost a year before. What is your
Mm-hmm.
purpose going to be? And your purpose doesn't have to be, you know, earth changing. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be, something huge. It can be something small, and it can be like, I guess, if I was going to liken purpose to a goal, it can have like a little bit of a time limit. I have two cats, and um, one of them is a long-haired cat, and when I, brush him out, I'm fulfilling a purpose in my life. Like, I adopted this little, cat into my life. I brought him in, and he's dependent on me. And when I take care of him, I'm fulfilling a purpose, and it's not a huge purpose, but I am, right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that carries a lot of weight. So purpose is also very multifaceted, and it's ever changing. What was your goal, your purpose, what you thought is what you're going to strive for when you're in high school or college or post grad, might not be what you're striving for at 50, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I do think that I would say intentionality in what it is and intentionality in recognizing on how you're fulfilling it in your daily
Mm-hmm.
life. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture.
Yeah. Yeah. I say we, I'm just gonna say I have put so much emphasis on it because I feel like as soon as I find it, it'll kind of tell me what to do. Because I'm just someone who I think I operate really well on being told what to do. Because growing up, I operated on being told what to do.
Yeah,
In a South Asian household, they tell you what to do and you do it.
yeah,
And then it turns out that, oh, I was told to do 50 math problems every night. Oh, look, I'm good at math. How did that happen?
yeah,
I was told to like study every night, and oh, look, I got a good grade. See what, like, but I didn't want to do it myself, but I was told to do it. And so like it's like I'm almost hunting for that like purpose to tell me what to do versus I genuinely feel like after I read The Alchemist and kind of had like a lot of internal reflection of if I can just do things, I will realize to your point, like all the different purposes that I have had, could have, will have, do have,
yeah,
maybe then I want to have at some point, right? Like I want this to be my purpose, and now because I'm so used to doing the thing versus waiting to be told to do the thing, I can do something that then gives me that purpose,
yes,
right?
exactly.
Like um I did not want kids 3 years ago. And over the past year and a half, I've had to like shift my mindset of it.
Hmm.
And now I'm really excited for it because I'm like, oh, what a cool purpose that will be at that point. Um, to have like a little me or a little us,
It'll
like
be,
right
yeah,
here,
a little us with
a little us
a
right
little
here.
us with a
And
whole dash of themselves.
oh my God. Yeah, I think that'll be so cool. Um, but I do I want to speak to the person listening who is like me, was like me, where your purpose was something that you spent 8 to 10 hours a day doing,
Yeah,
and now it is not. And now you are trying to figure out a way to continue doing 8 to 10 hours of it without the same drive, the same motivation, the same desire. Um, that's okay.
yeah,
Everybody goes through it. I'm going through it. Um, and I think you can get at you not I think I know you can get out of it.
yeah,
I'm gonna get out of it. I'm getting out of it. Um, and a lot of the times it could be by literally just not doing anymore
yeah,
versus and doing something else versus you know for the past 3 years my philosophy was if I can just find a way to enjoy this thing, if I can just find other things inside the job that make me fulfilled, if I can just find a reason to keep doing this, whether
yeah,
it's sustaining the house or sustaining my hobbies, if I can just find a reason to keep doing this, I'll be like less unhappy
yeah,
and have like a purpose. Didn't work. Doesn't always work, and that's okay.
yeah,
You know, I think um, I think while it's the most ethereal of the pillars in a sense, I think it's still possible for all of us to like grasp.
oh, I hope so. I hope so. And if you conceptualize purpose as like a theme of your life, um, there are so many ways that you might be fulfilling it and not even being aware that you're fulfilling it. Like if like my grand purpose in life is to help people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's being a psychiatrist or whatnot, but I can also help a person by just holding the door open,
Mm-hmm.
by carrying their packages, by telling someone they look
Mm-hmm.
really nice,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't, like I said earlier, it doesn't have to be a grand gesture. um, Perspective. And when you feel that, if you've spent a good chunk of time um, doing something that wasn't fulfilling your purpose in life, I would encourage you to maybe re-examine that period of your life and really think hard. Is like you truly didn't get something out of it to help
Mm-hmm.
move you towards your purpose, even if what you got out of it was, this is not the thing for me. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you know what, you have now eliminated something off of your list,
Yep.
bringing you
So true.
closer to what you want to do. So it wasn't time wasted. A lot of people kind of can get fixated on, I wasted so much time doing that. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
hindsight might show you, no, you actually got something from that, even if it
Mm-hmm.
was to cross it off your list.
Yeah.
But
You
I
know,
would say most people find something even more so than that.
w- yeah. I think one of the you had mentioned something about like um as you like reflect on the period and think about like what did you actually get out of it, because you definitely got something out of it, right? And when I was first started doing taxes, young, fresh, like open-eyed, open-eyed associate, I was so bad at taxes. But it's fine. It's completely fine how bad I was, because then 2 years hit and I'm like, I know everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize you don't know anything. And I was like, okay, cool. This isn't that fun anymore, because I feel like I'm hitting a wall. And then the next thing that I realized was, okay, I know that I really like helping people. The way that I do it, it's different for everybody, but I really do like helping people. Maybe not always with my time, but in other ways, whether it's my information, networking, resources, whatever it is, right?
Right.
And so the way that I convinced myself to stay in my job was, whatever I'm learning now, I can help my friends with
Yeah.
their
Mm-hmm.
taxes, or
Yeah.
my parents, or this person or that person who needs this information, right? And then that got me to like another year and a half of it. um Now I'm running on 6 years, and I'm like, oh, that's still not fueling me anymore. um and so now I'm in this period of reflection again, of like, okay, what am I getting out of it now?
Yeah.
Or maybe I've been coasting for too long and I haven't tried to get anything out of it. What can I get out of it
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
right? um and so, man, I love talking about purpose. I love talking about things that make no sense, because I feel like sometimes when you talk about purpose, you run in like a loop,
Yeah.
and you kind of like land back where you were, and it just feels like a little like an infinity loop. But it's also so fun, weirdly enough.
Well, I mean, it's intellectually stimulating, right? It's forcing your brain.
That's what it
It's
is.
right. It's
It's
forcing
like
your,
junk food for your brain.
yeah. It's forcing your brain, and I mean, I think like philosophical debates and whatnot. It's exercise for your brain, and it's
Mm-hmm.
stimulating. Um, and so, which helps with brain growth, and and is also has
Mm-hmm.
like anti-dementia properties to it. So, and is good for your mental health.
You
Um,
keep saying things that prompt more questions, and we don't have the time right
Yeah,
now.
I'm sorry. I told you. I told you. I
No,
was like,
you're
when you're like, I want
fine.
to talk about the five pillars. I was like, are we talking for 5 hours? Like, you give
No, we're
me,
talking for like 10 podcasts, is what
yeah,
we're
because I
doing.
was like, because I was like, well, like, I feel I don't want to give like generic answers, but if I can't go into depth, then how am I
Mm-hmm.
going to strike that balance? Because I can give
Yeah.
a lecture on each of these things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you know, I will say one thing, Arish, like so
Mm-hmm.
that with the you know ethereal discussions that are so stimulating, um, in my practice, one thing I like to do is root it in a practical step,
Mm.
so that it
How
doesn't
so?
just stay up there. I hear a lot of people saying that sometimes what they might complain about in therapy is that, well, how do I apply it to like my
Mm-hmm.
my day to day, right? Like we're talking about our, very stereotypical, like our inner child or our traumas. Well, what am I supposed to do that on a day-to-day basis? So, one thing I would encourage everybody to do is, like, if they get anything out of this discussion, is there something that you can take and actually apply it, practically speaking, to your daily life? And one thing I hope I've emphasized, it does not need to be grandiose. It does not need to be huge.
Mm-hmm.
It does not need to be a huge statement making action. It can be something small, and small does not mean insignificant. And so, in terms of you and like what you're talking about in terms of purpose, and you're trying to figure it out, you're doing this podcast. You're bringing awareness just by doing it. Whether one
Mm-hmm.
person watches it or 20 people watches it. If one person watched it and they got something out of it, I don't know what exactly your purpose is, I'm assuming here, but if you've impacted even one life, don't discount that, because for that one person, that their life means everything to them. So don't underestimate what you're doing and how you're fulfilling your purpose, because you might be doing it and not realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, sometimes you just have to simplify your thinking and
Mm-hmm.
think almost prosaically, like
Yeah.
on a real life. Like I'm very much about keeping it real. Like I
Yeah.
can have like the intellectual discussions, but then I think to move forward, you have to take that intellectual discussion, that thought, and you have to marry it to, well, what am I going to go do in real life? I think that's my community mental health background
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah. No, I
So
think that's so fair though, because we sometimes people just talk. When you're a kid, I always remind myself of this, of like when you're a kid, at some point when you're a kid, it's all about saying the cool things versus doing the cool things.
yeah,
And then if you actually do if you're talking about jumping in the pool is cooler than actually jumping in the pool. And then at a certain stage, jumping in the pool is cooler than just talking about it.
yeah,
And then at a certain stage, talking about the people talking about jumping in the pool, it's weird, right? But like people, I feel like there's always been this emphasis on just saying it, not really like doing anything about it.
yeah,
I akin it to sometimes, like, I heard this on a podcast and I started adopting in my own life of, people will just like start talking in like a conversation and be like, oh, I wonder this, or like, what's the weight of this animal, or like, how does this animal do this? And people just like just ponder off things, forgetting that they have, not
I was like,
forgetting,
why
but
aren't they
they
googling
but
it?
and so
Just
like the
Google
person in the
it.
podcast was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
figure
I
it
just
out.
kind of like Googled the answer, but it kind of killed the conversation, because they're like, oh, we kind of had fun just pondering. And I'm like, but I feel like if you get used to question, answer, you get better at finding more questions to answer
Exactly.
versus here's the one question, and how can we loop this for 30 minutes in a conversation that's not very productive, but it makes us it's stimulating, and it
It's
makes us think that
stimulating. Hmm.
it's productive, right?
Yeah.
Like this conversation is about to get in a loop if I don't segue us into the next thing, which is
Yes.
I have three questions for you.
Oh, okay.
I have three questions for
Yeah.
you, okay? First things first, France or Spain?
Oh. Oh. Okay. Spain.
Spain, crazy. You're taking Lamine Yamal over Mbappe.
Oh, but like no, but
Interesting.
France too. Like
I know, right? I
okay,
know, right?
anyone but Argentina. I guess that would be my default.
So Argentina versus England, you're for England.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anyone but
yeah. I mean,
Argentina. I'm very sore
yeah.
about Egypt losing.
I'm so upset about that.
So I like
I'm
after
so
that, it's
upset
like I
about that.
stopped caring. Just anyone but Argentina. So
Exactly. I couldn't root for them versus Switzerland, even though that was just tough to watch.
yeah.
Um, it was tough. It was tough. Okay, guys, you heard it here first. Somebody but Argentina needs to win the World Cup.
Yes.
If justice is real in this world, somebody but Argentina
Well, you
needs
put
to
it out in
win
the
this World
universe.
Cup.
Okay, let's see.
Manifesting it, manifesting it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, okay. Where can people find you if they want to keep up with what you're doing, with what South Coast is doing, with what Jiva is doing?
Yeah. So, okay, I guess you could find me in different capacities. If you wanted to see me as a patient, you'd have to be based in California, and then you could go to southcoastpsychiatry.com. And, you can call my office; they'll walk you through it. If you, I don't provide therapy to the Jiva clients. Ekta Agarwal is the supervisor, and she's the founder of Jiva, and she's amazing. But like in terms of like mental health awareness events, public speaking, podcasts, I work with Jiva Mental Health. In terms of doing that, I do my own personal stuff that you can find me on my Instagram, which is Stories by Dr. Q. Um, but if you're looking for something for more of a South Asian flair to it, something more South Asian specific, Jiva at jivamentalhealth.com. We are also Jiva Mental Health is also on Instagram, and then yeah, you can contact me directly too. Like I'm very active on Instagram and on Threads, and I believe my email address is like on all of these sites too.
Awesome. And last but not least, I ask everybody this who comes on the podcast, if there is one piece of advice, your one advice that you want to give to somebody listening today, what would it be?
Oh, Arish, I'm going to throw this right back at you. Let's see if you were listening. What do you think I'm going to say?
Go to therapy.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, okay. But before you even come see me or another doctor or another therapist, what do you think I'm going to say? Come on.
I feel like it's something in the lens of go study the 5 pillars of health, of physical and mental health. Go sleep.
Sleep. Yeah, sleep.
Go sleep.
Work on your
Go
sleep. Work on your sleep. Don't underestimate your sleep needs. Listen to your body. Sleep, sleep, sleep. It's so important. It's so, like, I was talking to, commenting on someone to Threads that I don't know if you probably didn't watch Bridgerton. Did you?
I haven't. No, My wife has tried to get me.
No fair. But like is he the Viscount? Yeah, he's a Viscount, Jonathan Bailey. He says to the Viscountess that you are the bane of my existence and the object of all my desires. And I said, that is so true for the phenomena of sleep for so many people.
So true.
The amount of time spent about like worrying and obsessing and ruminating about like getting enough sleep. It's just and we're just craving it, and we are and we are a sleep deprived community, and so much can be helped with just working on our sleep, and it's much easier said than done. I acknowledge that.
Yeah, I get that. No, that's great advice, guys. This is Dr. Huma Qureshi.
Oh,
I think we're friends now.
I think so too. Yeah.
But woo!
Yes,
guys, if you guys want more of her and me on the same call, please make sure to let me know that you want more of us, because I would love for us to rabbit hole down into so many things, because every pillar has 50 questions associated with it that I didn't ask, right? There's so many things I wanted to talk about, like rumination, any sort of like South Asian specific like focuses on any of these things, just like optimizations and or things that we can do to improve these things, what to look out for, what are some like red flags, what are like some red herrings, like there's so many things that we can talk about here. So let me know if you want us to talk about it here.
Yeah,
and we will do this again
for sure.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. This has been great. Please follow Huma everywhere. Her the socials will be linked below in the description. If this is a YouTube video, if this is on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, just listen and pull up Instagram while you're watching. That's fine. And thank you so much once again for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.